Welcome, everyone, to the National Crime Victim Law Institute's RISE, Rights in Action. This is a live lunchtime series that we're hosting during National Crime Victims' Rights Week. So National Crime Victims' Rights Week starts today. It is an annual time that we set aside as a nation to create awareness of victims' rights, honor the achievements of the victims' services field, and to elevate victims' voices. We're so excited to be here live. We're going to come live to you today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then Friday again. We're going to be speaking with our legal partners across the country who have sought technical assistance through the National Crime Victim Law Institute. NCVLI fields thousands of technical assistance requests annually, and we encourage you to seek the expertise of the amazing staff of this organization anytime that you're facing a challenge or a concern relating to activating, elevating, or advancing a victim's right. We're so fortunate today to have Tamika Cannon with us. Tamika is the senior staff attorney at the South Carolina Victim Assistance Network. She's going to be discussing the right to be present today and some assistance that she sought through NCVLI. So Tamika, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
We're really excited. So tell me a little bit about, I know that you sought technical assistance from NCVLI for a couple things, but we really want to unpack the right to be present and what that looked like and what your challenge was.
Yes. So I contacted NCVLI for help with a case in which my victim was assaulted. And there were two offenders. And the first case was actually resolved against the first offender without my client's knowledge. So the victim was not notified of the hearing, was not notified about the guilty plea, so therefore did not have a right to be present in the outcome of that case, the final disposition. So we became involved regarding the second offender and wanted to make sure and enforce the victim's right to be present and involved in that case.
Right. So Tamika, I can imagine how challenging that is for the survivor, right? Can you talk a little bit about what was at stake for that survivor having no knowledge of what was going on?
So with the first offender, the victim actually learned that the offender entered into a guilty plea and was released from jail when they encountered the offender in the community. So there was a sense of safety being compromised. And of course, just the dignity and the fairness as a victim being involved in the criminal process, not being allowed to participate in that hearing. So those issues were certainly at stake.
Yeah. So why did technical assistance matter, right? What was it about NCVLI that made you say, we need them?
Yes. So I am new to the victims' rights arena. So I started with South Carolina Victims Assistance Network in January. So I am still in the process of learning what rights are available. I'm still researching the current body of law within South Carolina. So it's very helpful to me to get the technical assistance from NCVLI. They assisted me in going through each of the rights to see which would apply to my particular case and analyzing those. And then they helped to come up basically with a strategy on how to enforce the victim's rights within this particular context and case. So it was very helpful. We did strategizing, they provided sample motions, provided the law, relevant case law in South Carolina. That was new to me as a new advocate in this field. So it really just helped to boost my confidence as an attorney. Like I said, being particularly new to this area, it was especially helpful.
That's wonderful. And it sounds like it was a really excellent resource for you. What advice would you give to any survivors or victims or allied professionals out there about protecting this right, particularly in the future? What do they do if they find out that their right to be present has been violated?
Yes. Well, I think first educating the victims about their rights, the right to be present very early on in the criminal process is critical. So making sure that victims are knowledgeable and are aware of those rights. So with SCVAN, we actually produced a memo for victims generally discussing what those various rights are. So I think looking at materials and information like that so that victims are aware And if there is a violation, they can attempt to address it very early on in the process. So I think that is critical. Filing the notice of appearance very early in the case so that the court, the prosecutors, defense attorneys, everyone knows that there is someone advocating for the victim. I think that's critical as well.
Wonderful. Any other tips or tools that you would provide around this particular right that we haven't discussed? We've talked about a lot.
Yeah, I think especially speaking with victims and letting them know about there are different ways to be present during this pandemic, that you may have a victim who wants to be physically present in a courtroom. You may have a victim who wants to participate by phone, or they may just want to have a victims' rights attorney appear on their behalf in the process. So I think discussing those options with your victim and their preference on how to be present and involved in the case, I think is critical, providing those options.
That's excellent. And as we know, we're in strange times, but it doesn't mean that victims' rights have to be eroded. They can still be uplifted and upheld. We just have to get a little creative about it.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of, contacting NCVLI, is having those discussions and going through different options that are available for victims.
So this is probably a no-brainer question, but would you recommend NCVLI to other advocates and attorneys in the field?
Absolutely. They were very helpful for me. Like I said, it increased my confidence as I went forward in representing this victim. They have a wealth of knowledge in this area particularly, so I think it's an invaluable resource. I definitely encourage others to utilize it.
Wonderful. Well, Tamika, thank you. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for advocating every day and standing up for crime victims. So often victims' rights end up being violated and they don't have valuable resources like your agency or other victims' rights attorneys out there. So we are just so thankful for you and the service that you provide every day. Thank you for being a valued partner of NCVLI's. We just appreciate you.
Thank you. And I'm glad to be here. And like I said, we're very thankful for NCVLI and your expertise as well. So thank you.
So Tamika, for those of that are from South Carolina, how can they find you? If there are survivors or victims or advocates out there that want to connect with the South Carolina Victim Assistance Network, where do they go?
So we have a website. It's SCVAN.org. That is a valuable resource for the public generally. For victims advocates, I would encourage them to check out our website at scvanlegal.org. We have lots of resources, including a county map with resources that are available for victim services, just for each county in the state of South Carolina. We also have a free app for advocates where they can submit questions to us at SCVAN about cases, about victims' rights law generally, and other legal rights for victims. So that's also a helpful resource that can be found on the Google Play Store or the iStore just by searching SCVAN.
Wonderful. Well, Tamika, thank you again so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. To everyone, thank you for logging on for our Lunchtime Live series. We will be posting this video later so that you can digest it if you weren't able to join us. Also know that we're going to be coming back tomorrow at noon, but it's going to be noon Pacific time. So just set your watch for that. And we're going to be virtually traveling to California to talk about the rights of fairness and respect. Until then, to learn more about the National Crime Victim Law Institute, our RISE project, and any way that you can help activate victims' rights, please go to ncvli.org today. We look forward to hearing from you. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.